you should never be obsessing over someone that isn't yourself. So if at some point in your life you've been through it, because I think we've all been through it, where like we start obsessing over someone else and we start kind of like losing ourselves, losing our confidence and all of that, this is the video for you. And after this video, I can promise you that you will be able to go back to yourself and stop obsessing over absolutely anyone. So what happens, or why does it happen that we obsess over other people? What happens at the end of the day is that maybe you probably have a lot of like friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, family members, whatever, where you feel like your relationship with them is equal. You're not afraid to tell them anything. You're not afraid to be yourself around them. You're just there with them, and you never have that feeling of like, oh, they're gonna abandon me, oh, they're gonna reject me, or they're gonna do this. You feel like you can be 100% yourself with them and there's no problem. And if you have to like ask them for like, oh, something that you did the other day bothered me or something like that, you're not afraid to lose these people, okay? Those are the people that you see as equals, and those are the healthy people in your life. What happens is that at some point you meet someone. Sometimes, or most of the times, it's usually a romantic partner, because I feel like that's where we recreate these things the most. I mean, it has happened to with friends to me in the past, but it mainly happens with romantic partners. So what happens is like you meet this person, and this person that you should see as an equal, you put them on a pedestal. You put them over yourself. You start feeling like you're less than them. And sometimes for like no apparent reason, because if you start thinking about like a specific person that you're feeling like this right now, you might think like, okay, objectively, what does this person have that I don't? And you might think like, well, they have a job like me, they do this, they do that, blah, blah, blah. Maybe in certain aspects they're like better, but like you probably also have friends that are better in some aspects and you're better than them in others, and that's completely fine. And that doesn't make them better than you or better than anyone else. But it's a similar thing that happens like with celebrities. Like you might be a big fan like me for Taylor Swift, and you might just put her on a pedestal because she is Taylor Swift. But at the end of the day, you need to know like if she does something shitty, she's still a human being who has flaws and who is not perfect and who doesn't deserve to be put on a pedestal just because she is Taylor Swift, because that's exactly how it is. So what happens is like you start putting this person on a pedestal. And what happens is that when you put the person on a pedestal, you start being afraid to lose them, and you start neglecting yourself in order to get a certain thing from them, which is usually validation. Okay, because you start seeing like, oh, this person can give me something that I cannot give myself. So at the end of the day, it's like if you look at it from like an energetic point of view, if you have a ball of energy, okay, that's like in the middle of your chest, which is where it always should be, you take this energy or part of this energy and put it in this person, and you start taking from them because you're like, you lost your energy. You put everything on them because you had to lift them up somehow. So like you had to use your energy to lift them up to their pedestal. So you start expecting them to give you all these things that you were giving yourself. Because hasn't it happened to you probably at some point that the moment you cut off contact with one of these people, you actually felt relieved? You actually felt like, oh, I actually don't have as much anxiety as I used to. I don't feel as sad as I used to. I don't feel bad because all of the other friends that I have in my life, I don't feel this weird connection with, where like I feel like I can't live if they don't text me good morning, or I can't live if they don't call me, or whatever it is, you know? So when you get to this point, it's like, it's because you take your energy and you put it towards another person. And then since you gave them your energy, you're kind of like obviously always kind of like, take it back, take it back, take it back, because you gave it to them. But why is the reason why that happens? Like, why did you give it to them? The main reason is that they probably remind you of someone that did you something in the past. Like, let's say you have an abandonment wound, an abandonment or rejection trauma, something like that. They probably somehow subconsciously remind you of the person that did that to you. If it was your dad, they probably remind you of your dad. If it was your mom, they remind you of your mom, whatever it is. But that's why it usually also happens mainly in romantic relationships, because in romantic relationships is where we usually kind of like recreate the whole drama that we had when we were younger and when we had like our first traumatic experiences, our first wounds and all of that. So since, let's say, for example, your dad abandoned you and you have a big abandonment and rejection wound, the moment you meet this person, this wound gets activated. This wound is like wide open again, and it's like, fuck, I'm here again. I'm feeling exactly as I felt when I was 5 years old. And what you're trying to do with this person is like you put them on a pedestal and you try to recreate that feeling or that like situation that you had when you were growing up and you were abandoned by your dad, for example, and you're trying to fix it with this new person. And the reason why you put this person on a pedestal is because when you were 5 years old, obviously your dad was on a pedestal because you were young and you like gave that relationship to your dad, because obviously when you're 5 years old, your dad or your mom or whoever has a relationship, the obligation to take care of you, protect you, and all these things. So now being older, what you're doing is kind of like creating the same distance with this person. You're putting them in the paper or in the role of your dad, your mom, whatever it is. And so you start expecting them to not abandon you. And in the process of doing that, what you do is you abandon yourself. And when you abandon yourself, which is literally like, that's the healing that needs to happen for you to stop obsessing over this person. The moment you abandon yourself, you're just recreating the same situation, when that's not the role and that's not the goal that you need to be doing here. So at the end, what needs to happen here is the following, is that the moment that you have this person in your life, that you start being afraid to tell them like what you need, because you are afraid you might come off as needy, as, I don't know, as like, that you're not gonna be good enough for them, that they're gonna leave you if you tell them like, oh, this bothers me, or like if you're yourself in a certain way. The moment you start feeling all of these things is the moment that you need to start doing all of these things with this person, to like either push them away or have this person to like actually show up for you. Because at the end of the day, sometimes, I mean, it hasn't, well, to me it has happened in both ways. Like with healthy partners, it has happened where like I had this fear of doing this, I started doing it, and then they actually showed up for me, and the relationship got really healthy after that. And in other cases, I obviously chose already like a person that was really similar to my dad, like avoidant, narcissistic, and all of these things. So what happened is like the moment I started showing my needs and like, hey, I would like a good morning text, I would like this, I would like that, they started to just like pull away, become avoidant, and start making me feel like I was the problem. But what you want to be doing in these situations is actually super easy. And it's like, you need to, first things, make a list, make it right now while I'm talking if you want, and start stating all of the needs that you need from like a partner, a friend, whatever it is. And think about like telling these needs to a friend that you're really like confident with, someone that you trust, and someone that you're not afraid to tell these needs to, or like even your sister, whoever it is. Like, I like good morning text, I like someone like not leaving me on red, I would like someone to call me a few nights a week, I don't know, whatever it is. State all of the needs that you have, could be with a partner, could be with a friend, could be whatever, and tell them to a friend that you trust, and someone that you know is probably always gonna wanna like do the best for you and kind of like protect your wounds and not like try to hurt you deeper, you know. Because at the end of the day, the friends that love you will try to, like, if you tell them like, oh, I have an abandonment wound, they will always do an extra effort to never make you feel abandoned. The wrong person will not try to do that. The wrong person will just like try to make you feel worse. Maybe sometimes it's just subconsciously, maybe it's not even something that they want to be doing intentionally, but sometimes it is that they're just bad people and they want to just keep on doing that to you. So once you make that list, what you need to be doing is like, you need to be responsible and be held accountable by yourself, that you need to respect that list, not the other person, you. And what I mean by that is that if sometimes, let's say that you want a good morning text, you've never told that to the person, so you tell that to the person. That's the first thing. You need to communicate those needs to that person. If that person makes you feel bad for having those needs, or uses those needs against you, like to punish you, for example, like they will tell you good morning every morning, but the moment that you do something wrong or something, they use that against you to be like, oh, now I'm not going to say good morning to this person because I know that this hurts her. That's a red flag. And the third thing is like, if they just are like, oh, I just can't do that, like sending you a good morning text, that like, that's too much. That's when you walk away. That's when you have to like be enough in love with yourself to be like, okay, I cannot abandon myself here, because that's exactly how it happened the first time. The first time that you abandon yourself to kind of like gain the love of your dad or the validation of your mom or something like that, it's because you thought that their love, well, in order to survive when you were 5, that makes sense. Their love was more important, or their protection was more important than your needs. Obviously, it makes sense then. It was a survival mechanism. Right now, you don't need that to survive anymore. So the moment someone disrespects you, the moment someone walks all over you, you need to leave. You need to put up boundaries, or be like, okay, if you don't want to text me good morning anymore, and you don't do it for like from now on, I will have to leave, or you will give me no choice but to leave. And you also can make it their problem, because at the end of the day, some people, like when you tell them it in a way where you like, they see that it's their thing, like it's not that you want to walk away, it's not that you don't love them, it's just like, well, I have to respect myself because I come first. My energy needs to be here, not there. And so when you start doing that for yourself, I know that at the beginning it's super hard to like start drawing boundaries with people and start respecting yourself more than you respect others, especially if you've been a people pleaser like I have been for a long time. But over time, I can promise you this gets easier. And the way this is gonna feel much easier for you to do is the moment that you start enjoying your own time, and the moment you start like really getting to know yourself and becoming your own best friend. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you start spending time by yourself and you start doing all the activities that you love, and you realize that you actually don't really need anybody. Obviously, we're human. Obviously, at some point in time, we will need people. We're social beings, so like we need people. But I mean that at the end of the day, you don't need someone who's gonna treat you bad when you can be alone and treat yourself better, okay? So like you just need to be attracting the right kind of people. And at the end of the day, it's like the moment you start respecting yourself, your needs, and everything that you want, you're going to be manifesting the people who are going to treat you like that. Because if you feel like yourself, objectively, you're a 10, and there comes someone who starts treating you like a 4, and you allow that person in your life for enough time, you will start feeling like a 4, and you will start attracting everything in your life as a 4 who thinks that you're not good enough, you don't deserve enough, all of these things. You will not be an abundant being. You will not be a being that feels like love is something that you deserve, because you've been dragged down to a 4 when you are a 10, and you should be manifesting a 10, if you know what I mean. Or you should be manifesting other people that are a 10, that treat you like a 10, and you can treat them like a 10, okay? So it's really important that you start spending time with yourself, start getting to know yourself, and stop having this FOMO of like, being with certain people or doing certain things is going to give me something that I cannot give myself. Because, for example, let's say like you decided that today was going to be like your own date day or something like that, and then a friend comes and she's like, oh, we're going out partying with this friend to like this house, blah blah blah, do you want to come with? And they're partying with a person that's like on your half pedestal, and you're kind of like working through that. If you can like prioritize yourself, if you can put yourself up there on the pedestal as well, and you can be like, no, but I decided I was going to have a day with myself, and I will respect that because that's something that I want to do for me. That's when you will realize that you are starting to prioritize yourself, and you're starting to make yourself the focus of your life and the main character of your life, if you want to say it like that. And that's when you will start not allowing people to control you, because at the end of the day, what you're allowing with this is like you're allowing other people to control you. Like, for example, let's say that to you it's really important that a guy, if they want to ask you on a date, they do it at least 3 days in advance because you want to have time to plan yourself. That's fine. And it also, like, obviously never listen to anybody who's trying to like argument or tell you why that's wrong, like what you want, because your needs and wants are valid. It doesn't matter. Like, even if you want someone to bring you flowers on the first day, that's completely valid. That's your need. And it's fine. It doesn't have to be my need. It doesn't have to be anyone else's need, but like it's your need. And you are allowed to have whatever needs that you want, okay? That's really important for you. And so if you tell a person like, okay, I want a date 3 days in advance, and if not, I'm not gonna go out with you. And then you make plans for the weekend with some friends, and then this person texts you that same morning being like, oh, I'm free today, do you wanna do something? You say no. If that's your standard, and if that's your point where you're like, I don't wanna have dates with people if they don't text me 3 days in advance, that's not saying that over time you will have opportunities where you can be spontaneous. But especially at the beginning, I feel like you need to be super clear with your boundaries when you meet someone, be it a friend, be it a relationship, be it whatever, so that you can really like filter people through that. Because at the end of the day, even if there's someone who's like a bit, you know, like someone who wants to challenge your boundaries and things like that, if you are really firm at the beginning, they will either fade away or they will respect you, and they will be like, okay, I cannot mess with this person because this person is really firm on what they believe and what they think they deserve. So I either give them that or I fuck off, and I cannot be in their life, okay? So these are like the main things that I hope that you can take away from this video. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.